Hey everybody, this is BJ King with River Tree Insurance, and today I'm here to talk to you about insurance specifically for you as a specialty trade contractor. And there's several things that you need to think of when you're considering insurance for your company. And today we're going to talk about a lot of the main ones. We're not going to talk about the small details and different things that you can go in, but I really want to go into the main ones and talk to you a little bit about those. And so as you're thinking about insurance coverage, I like to try to break it down as simply as possible. And I want you to think of it as, in one category you've got your stuff, and in another category you've got what you do to other people and their stuff to cause damage to them. So as we're talking, let's first talk about your stuff. And so when we're talking about your stuff, there's the obvious things such as your building, if you own a building, or the contents within the building, you know, your furniture, your computers, your phones, things like that. You need to get coverage for those. Other things that you use on a daily basis, specifically to you, are tools, right? And so your tools, they aren't sitting in that building all the time. They're running up and down the road, they're on job sites. They may belong to you, they may belong to your employees, whatever. We have to cover those, but we cover those on an inland marine policy. And so when you're looking into insurance, make sure you talk to your broker about tools and whether they're your tools or your employees' tools, you know, how much they are. And then along those lines as well, also, you know, any bigger equipment that you have, let's say you have backhoes or something like that, then you need to actually schedule all those things. We need to know about, you know, the value of those, the year, make, model, those type of things. We just need to know all about all this stuff that you have. One of the less known things that people don't really think about is what we call an installation floater. An installation floater is kind of like, if you're familiar with a builder's risk when you're building a whole building. Well, this is going to cover just your stuff that you're installing, because you're not building that whole building, right? You're just building, maybe you're running the wiring through the house or through a commercial building or something. And so you've installed a lot of that wiring and somebody comes through in the night, steals all the copper wiring, right? You haven't been paid for the job yet. And so because it's gone, the customer is not going to pay you for something that's not there, right? So we got to have insurance for all that stuff. Or if you've got, let's say you're an HVAC contractor and you've got an HVAC unit on your truck and you're driving down the road taking it to a job site, and you have a wreck, somebody hits you, you got to be able to cover that, right? Even if it's on a temporary storage, let's say you've got it stored temporarily somewhere or stored on the job site or whatever, those are the things that an installation floater is going to cover for you. One thing that's kind of both your stuff and other people is your automobiles. So you've got the physical damage side of your automobiles that you got to cover. You know, if something were to happen to them, you have a wreck, you have to fix them or replace them or whatever. And then the other side of the auto is if you hit someone else, you know, you got to pay liability to make them whole, to fix their vehicles or to pay their medical bills or whatever it may be. Again, on the taking care of other people and their stuff, general liability is a huge one. Sometimes if you're working for specific contracts or contractors or something like that, you're going to have specific requirements for how much liability coverage you're going to have. You're usually going to see that at least $1 million per occurrence, and then it could go up from there. You may have to have an umbrella, which is kind of higher limits that they're going to require you to have. But your general liability is basically covering you for when you hurt someone else's stuff or you cause bodily injury to someone else. So let's say you're a plumber and you put in the pipes and you leave, and because something happened there that you did, there was a water leak and it flooded the building that you plumbed, and you are responsible for fixing everything that plumbing caused damage to. So now you have to be responsible for fixing the plumbing yourself, but the insurance company is going to pay for everything else, for all the flooring and the drywall and everything else that was damaged. The insurance company will cover that. So that's your general liability. Another big liability coverage is your workers' comp. So ultimately, you are responsible for all of your employees and all of these subcontractors that work under you. Whether you have workers' comp or you don't, whether you're required by law to or not, you are still ultimately responsible. If they get hurt, you have to take care of them. And so that's what workers' comp does. Workers' comp takes care of their medical bills. It actually takes care of a large part of their lost wages as well. So while they're sitting at home not being able to work, workers' comp is paying a part of their salary. So that's a big coverage that you have to have. And then I briefly mentioned the umbrella coverage. The umbrella coverage is basically giving you higher limits that go over top of your employer's liability, which is a part of your workers' comp. It goes over top of your general liability, and it goes over top of your auto liability as well. So it's just higher limits that you need. With the litigious society that we have today, lawsuits are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. People are getting awarded more and more money when they sue. And so these umbrellas are getting more and more prevalent and more needed. Another thing you may want to think about is your employee benefits. So if you have employees, you may want to provide them with health insurance. You may want to provide them with short-term and long-term disability, life insurance, accidental death and dismemberment. You may want to even give them like some kind of retirement plan, those type of things. And then let me think, another big one for a lot of you trade contractors that are out there, especially if you're working for general contractors and more specifically the commercial general contractors, or either you're working in the public sector or something like that, is bonding. And so bonding is basically saying, I bond, the insurance company says that I bond you, Mr. Contractor, and I'm promising that general contractor that you are going to do what you say you're going to do. You're going to pay your employees, you're going to pay your bills, and you're going to finish the job. So that's what a bond is. And so depending on how big a job you do, depends on the amount of limits that you need on those. So again, these are a lot of coverages, but these are just the main ones. There are some other smaller ones and different types of coverages that we can talk about as well. If you have any questions on this, please give me or anyone else in the office a call, or you can shoot us an email. You can hit us on any of our social media as well. So thank you for your time.